Noah and his sons and said to them, you remember Noah had built an altar, had sacrificed, had done all these things to God. So God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Very similar to what he told the first people. But he wants there to be people. He wants that to be, that we perpetuate, that we move forward. So be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground, and all the fish of the sea. So, again, it's saying the fear of us. There is a fear of humans and animals. You know, most animals will stay away from human beings. I know I was in West Virginia the other week. My wife keeps asking me, well, about bears, well, about this. Well, bears, there seems to be a lot of bears, but they say very scarce because they no more want to see you than I want to see them, you know, up close and personal. I think the only time that they're really supposed to be, you know, very vicious or whatever is if you corner them or if they have their young or things like this. But most time animals are going to try to stay away from people, and people generally try to stay away from animals most of the time. He said, you know, into everything, into your hand they are delivered. Now here's the thing we have to understand. God made us stewards. Stewards of this earth. Now we are to take care of things. We are to take care of animals. We are to take care of God's world that He has given us. That's what it means to be a good steward, a caretaker. We're here to take care of this earth. We're not to pollute. We are not to throw trash out. We are not to over-harvest things like fish and other things. We're to take care of God's earth. And we can do that, but God has placed this in our hands to do. He has given us what really is His power. He has given it unto people. He said, hey, this is for you to do. So again, we should do the right thing in that respect. Take care of the water and the earth. He says, for everything that lives shall be food for you. So he's saying you can eat meat, you can eat plants, you can eat all these things. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood. So we're not to eat meat with its blood. And for your lifeblood, I will require a reckoning from every beast. I will require it, and from man, from his fellow man, I will require a reckoning for the life of man. So God is, we don't have the Ten Commandments yet, we don't have any of that, but God is setting up laws. We're not to kill one another. We're not to do violence towards one another. But God says, if you do, this is kind of a forerunner of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. He's saying, if you kill somebody, then your life will be required of you. That's what God is saying here. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for God made man in His own image. You see, we are not to take a life. That is up to God. But understand, if you do take a life, according to this. Now there's grace now. There is other things now. But understand that at this time, God said, if you take a life is to be taken from you. And you be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly on the earth and multiply in it, because life is precious. We need to understand that life is a gift from God. It comes from Him. And we are to what? Take care of life. We are to take care of our life, but more importantly, we're to take care of the life of others around us. We're not to harm them. We're not to hurt them. We're not to do those things, because that life is a gift from God that He gave them. And just for the record, you know, a lot of people are so willy-nilly about, oh, we should do this, we should do that, nuke this bunch, you know, kill all these people, do this, do that. Well, do you realize, and those are people that have never been to combat, I promise you, because people who have been to combat are probably the most pacifist people you've ever seen, because they understand the consequence of taking a life. When you take a life, you've taken everything that person would have ever contributed to society and everything they ever were. So you're taking a father, a mother, an aunt, an uncle, a brother, a sister, a cousin. You're taking a church member. You're taking a student or a teacher or something. You're taking everything, from the world that they would have contributed. And that's something we need to understand. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, Behold, I establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you. So this is the Noah's covenant. This is the Noahic covenant. And with every living creature that is with you, the birds and the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you, as many as come out of the ark, it is for every beast of the earth. I establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the whole earth. Now, God is saying he won't destroy all of humanity. That's the covenant with Noah. He says, I'm not going to destroy everything by a flood again. Not going to do it. And just for the record, there are flood narratives all over the world. Flood narratives. I was watching some things last night on, I think, History Channel, talking about this sediment that they're finding and all over the world in 4 different continents. They have dug it up, and it's at this same time period. I'm not much into certain things, but there does seem to be evidence of a gigantic deluge, if you will, and it's all over the world. This is in Australia, in Eastern Europe, and in Europe, in the Americas, South America, in Africa, China, India. There are these flood stories, these narratives that we see, and we need to listen to the ancients. They were passing down our history to us, I believe. So God said, this is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you, every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I have set my bow in the clouds. Everybody loves to see a rainbow. Everybody loves that. They're wonderful to see. Well, God has said that this is a sign. This is a sign. And when I bring, sign of the covenant between me and the earth, when I bring clouds over the earth and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. The rainbow, a wonderful thing. When we see a rainbow, we need to remember it. We need to remember what God is doing. We need to remember that it is a sign of God's grace and his mercy towards us to this day. Pray that God would bless and keep you this day and always. Amen.